But today I'd like to tell you a little different story. It's a story about conversations and how those conversations have a really great part to play in our lives. I actually have a friend with whom I have lived virtually all my life. We share the same birth date, we schooled together, and because of the complexity in her life, there's only one way through which I can describe her in a nutshell. This is an ancient Japanese art technique where if you had a pot or anything made of ceramics and it broke, you would take it to an artisan and they would carefully put it together using liquid gold. So my friend's life has basically been like that. Broken into bits, put together, broken into bits again, and put together. And the more times this breaks, the longer it takes the artisan to put it together, and the more beautiful a piece you get. I think when I look back to the conversations that I had with my friend, it is because of certain circumstances that she went through in her life that forced me as her friend to step up the plate and be the person that she needed all along. You see, in 1997 or thereabouts, she lost two brothers, and it was the first time that death had knocked on the door of their family. The thing about these two brothers is that they were the only brothers that she had. One was older, whom she looked at as her protector, and the other one was a younger one whom she felt she needed to protect. So when they died, she was left with very many questions, some of which were, who would protect me and my sisters? But more importantly, who would protect my baby brother? Being the first time that death visited them, she didn't really know how to handle this. So what did she do? She packed it up all together and buried it. But my friend is not the kind of person to give up very easily. She has a really strong personality. Those who, like me, know her will attest to the fact that she has a very strong self-esteem, she has a very strong character, and in all essence of the word, she's a very proud person at the same time. All these qualities she attributes to being with her father. Her father used to have conversations with them when they were young. He spoke wisdom into them. He spoke blessings into them. He reminded them of what great children they were, and he always told them how much he loved them. So it is no wonder that 12 years later, after the death of her brothers, he too passed on. This time, he was murdered. This incident came with a further set of questions that she didn't have answers to. The guilt that she felt when her brothers passed on came rolling back. The questions that she had 12 years ago were in essence resurrected. At the same time, the recession hit and she found herself jobless. You know, her job actually defined her. It was something that she had worked as hard as her father had told her. Go to school, my daughter, get a good job. And she was there. All along, at the same time, her marriage too took a tumble. It was at a rough point in the relationship. And this brought on some guilt. She kept asking herself, what did I do wrong that we reached here? She had many other questions. What happened? How did I not see this? Wait, is that the same woman or is it a different one? No sooner had this all happened than she fell into a depression because life was becoming a bit too difficult. It was losing meaning. The things that defined her were no longer there. But as life would have it, her mother, God bless her soul, was there to take care of her. You see, at one point she realized that her daughter was nowhere. She wasn't calling her mother as often as she was. So what my friend's mother did was to call her up and find out what was going on. And that is when she knew what was happening. So the conversations that my friend had with her mother are what uplifted her from this pit of depression. Her mother, like any other, would listen at the other end of the line, would talk to her, encourage her, and at the end of it all, would pray for her and pray together with her, as any other mother would. 11 months after her father passed on, which was about a month shy of his 70th birthday, death knocked again. This time, it was her mother. I can assure you, my friend was livid. She was angry. Two things she was angry at: the tiny little blood clot that took away her mother's life. And secondly, she was angry at her mother too. How could her mother leave her at this point in life when she actually needed her most? Who would she run to? If she fell into a depression again, who would she talk to? And sometimes she also wondered if she was to pick up the phone and call her, would her mother say hello on the other side? So at the same time, when all this was happening, my friend was going through a different kind of loss. But then I had to come in as her friend, and I stepped up, and this is what we decided to do. It took us quite a while, actually. But we realized that some of these things had to get done for her to go ahead. And I didn't want to lose her the way she was losing other people in her life. I knew if I didn't do something, she too would be gone. So we went for counseling together. And through those counseling sessions, we learned how to speak of the things that were deep in our hearts and not to let them in. As if that was not enough for us because we were a relentless force, we also went for a 12-week Bible-based self-renewing program. Through this program, my friend and I learned how to have conversations with a third party, the God that we believe in high up. We learned how to speak to God. And when we had conversations between the two of us and we didn't have any answers, we knew that there was a third party on whom we could rely. The third journey that we took together was a self-renewal journey as well. But in this self-renewal journey, it was to build our personalities, to make us strong. And through this, we learned how to have deep, reflective conversations, not only with other people, but within ourselves. And through all this, life was going on well. So my friend and I were happy, and we knew that we were armed with what it is that we need to carry on with life. But death never left. Death knocked 4 times more. The only difference is, because she had learned to have conversations, not only with her father, with her mother, the higher power, and me as her friend, she dealt with each of these incidences differently. I remember well when she was telling me about when her baby sister died, the littlest of the family. Because of the conversations that she had had before, she learned to say, "Fare thee well, my sister." The next time death knocked, it was a younger sister again. The difference is, this happened on my friend's 50th birthday. But with that, having known how to deal with it this time, but I don't mean to say that we didn't cry. We did cry, and we moaned, and we went through this together. And so she learned, through a conversation with a higher power, to look at the way her sister had led a wonderful life, had done her work on earth, and so at the end of it all, she was able to celebrate a life well lived. The third time death knocked after that was with her nephew. You see, the thing about her nephew is she took care of him from when he was a little baby, so it was almost like her own child dying. And I know that at that time, my friend had kind of lost touch with me, and I knew she was tapping into a higher power, because if it wasn't for that, I don't think she would have been able to spare her sister, her nephew's mother, the pain of watching his child's body being removed from the life support machine at the ICU. You only get that kind of strength when you're in touch with a higher power. And not so long ago, 6 days ago, an auntie very close to their family also passed on. This auntie had lived with them and was almost like an older sister to them. But by that time, she knew that it would all be well. The other thing that was going on in the background, apart from all this, these kinds of losses, is that my friend was actually going through a different kind of loss. She was losing her hair. Those who know me know that I too have walked bald at one point. So this was a familiar territory for me. You see, how do you tell your friend when she asks you, "Am I losing my hair? Is that a bald patch?" And yet she has gone all through this. So this was one really lengthy conversation that my friend and I had to have. Yeah, we did the dermatologist thing. We went and bought lotions here, a potion there, a cream that somebody recommended. But at the end of the day, we realized that all this just kept our hopes up, our bank's account zero, and also at the same time, it did nothing for our follicles. So to face reality, we decided to have another conversation and look at what is it that we can have. And by a shift in the kind of conversations we had, we developed a shift in our perspective, and then we realized a whole horizon of possibilities for one who doesn't have hair. Losing your hair, for those of us who know, is a matter of personality shift. What happens to you is that you begin to ask yourself many questions. You feel ugly. It leaves you vulnerable, and it leaves you with many, many questions that you cannot answer. That is a journey that I know too well. My friend, as I have said, is somebody whose life can only be described with the kind of pot that I put across. You see, when I was bald, I realized that one of the things that you have to do as a person is to come to terms with reality, the reality of what was going on. For me, I rocked the style, and I'm very proud to say, and even as you see me, this is one of the opportunities that I have. My friend and I we made jokes about this. We could say things like hair today, gone tomorrow. And quite frankly, we're the only people that you may know who can let their hair down any time of the day, every day. Before I finish off, I'd like to put across something to you, a lesson that I learned. People say talk is cheap, but for me, conversations are very rich. It was through conversations that my friend and I were able to navigate life's forces as they came and they went. And like I said before, the conversations that my friend and I had are things that we took for granted before. And it wasn't only until certain circumstances in our lives made us to realize that we needed each other. So we made a pact, my friend and I. We said we were never going to leave each other, and we are always going to speak with each other and to each other. These are the conversations that kept us going. I'm sure many of you would like to meet my friend. Lucky for you, she's here with you today. You see, my friend, like I said, is somebody who learned the importance of conversations. But these conversations, the unique thing about them is that they didn't really happen between two people. These conversations were my conversations. They happened between me. My friend was me. I was her. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, no matter what the situation, no matter what the loss that you have, I believe that conversations are an integral part of our lives, and you should always have them. If you have them with somebody whom you love, the better. If you can have them with a higher power, even better. But if you can have them with yourself, don't let go. Keep talking. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Evelyn, and this has been my story.